Radio preparedness versus modern convenience culture.
One has both feet firmly on earth, the other has the head in the clouds. Welcome back to the Prepper Network podcast. This is episode 4, where we dive deep into radio preparedness and why it's important to have a communication backup plan. I'm your host, Jim, together with Lewis and Frank. Lewis, are you fully grounded or are you fluttering aimlessly through the ether?
Yes, I would say I'm pretty grounded. I think I've got my comms pretty much sorted. It's not finished yet, but it's a working project. It's always a working project. It's never finished. But yeah, how about you, Frank?
Yeah, I think I have mine really good, but I think I need to upgrade my certification again. We were just talking about that lately, and I'd like to be able to build a radio antennas efficiently. But when I did my license, I had to do it during COVID, so I was kind of restricted in sitting in classroom environments. We did it all online. It's a little more difficult. Plus, I was working full time at the time, so.
Yeah.
But I think overall we're getting there, even with these podcasts and with the websites and stuff. We are making a big dent, and maybe this time next year we would be in a great position, in a better area. What do you think, Jim?
Yeah, I think so too. I also have an amateur radio certification, but it's thanks to Lewis that I actually got an antenna out. I had the antenna in a cabinet at home, but Lewis helped me to actually come to and put it out the window. And my next step will be to actually put the coax up through the attic and out, so I have a better ground plane and stuff like that. But it's still a work in progress, and it will always be a work in progress. And I think radio is a bit misunderstood, I would say.
Yes.
And I think, Lewis, your group, what is it? It's Radio
Prepper Network.
Radio Prepper Network. I think it's doing a great job to actually teach people about radio and how to begin.
Yes, we've had lots of preppers that have kind of had radios just tucked away somewhere, collecting dust. Don't know really
I
what
know
they
I
do.
did for
Don't
over
know,
2 or 3 years. Yeah,
yeah, they don't really
nothing
know
much.
what they are, what they do. Because a lot of people have these bell things and they just think they're a radio you can turn on and just transmit on any channel or whatever. They don't actually know what they are, what they do. And, that can be a problem on many, for many reasons. So, yeah, it's just really about bringing awareness to radio, showing people how to use them effectively, because it's like with prepping, you have to practice with the equipment you have before something happens to be able to use it efficiently. Otherwise, what's the point? Just owning a radio is not going to magically save you when the shit hits the fan.
Well, it's
No,
the same as
and-
like knowing where your spare tire is in the car. So the only difference is you got to know how to change the tire. It's the very same principle with a
Yes.
radio. If you don't know how
Yeah.
to change the tire, you don't know how to operate the radio. That's exactly what it
Exactly.
is. Yeah. So I think,
Yes,
what we're doing here is pretty good.
yeah, and something that is often missed with when people start thinking about radio is that you have to know who you're going to talk to, and you have to be in sort of an agreement about when and how and on what frequency or channel you will meet up, because it's not like your cell phone that you call a number and you will just magically ping your
Yeah.
intended person. With
You got to know
radio,
what
you
information
are
you're looking for.
yeah. So in if you are going to transmit on radio, regardless of if it's amateur radio or if it's citizen band CB or like the PMR handheld UHF ultra high frequency stuff, someone needs to be listening at the correct frequency and in the correct way, let's say, the correct mode for them to hear you when you're speaking. So, and that is something you are doing great in your group, Lewis, that you set the parameters for when and where people are listening to each other.
Yes, well, trying to. It's coming together. It's just getting people in the habit, because a lot of people turn on the radio, try and transmit and say, "Oh, I don't get anyone not coming back to me," So it's the same when I first got into radio, on PMR. That's how I started, PMR radio. I would turn it on and I would get nobody. I was like, why am I
We
not
all
getting
got the
anybody?
same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And then But it didn't stop there, and I started doing some more research, and then I spoke to my father about radio because he's a radio enthusiast. Also, he got started in CB back in the day, and he explained to me, obviously, that PMR is very short distance. I didn't understand that. It's very much line of sight. And then told me about CB radio, and that's when I got started on CB radio, and that's when it was a big game changer because with CB radio, it's use ionosphere to bounce signals, and I was talking to people all over Europe. So, yeah,
Mm.
it's fantastic. So it just depends on
And
what people want, really.
it was only then as well. Sorry, Lewis. It was only then at that
Right.
time. I did the very same as you. I had CB radio back in the 80s, 70s, 80s. That shows my age. We could only get basically 15 to 20 miles within our area. We were getting the same guys and women talking. It was like Facebook is today in your local towns and villages. Everybody knew everybody. Everybody had a handle and they were able to call by name. Mine was Black Cat. Don't ask me. But fast forward to today, and then I learned about a CB ham system setup called Moon Bounce. Have you heard of moon bouncing? This is pretty
Yes.
cool. I thought it was very interesting. But you need big radios and antennas to do it. So basically, what they do is they point their antennas towards the moon, like the moon we've had there in the last week, fantastic wolf moon, and send a signal. And you're listening on the radio, and you can hear yourself coming back 10 seconds later. So it goes to the moon and bounces back. So anybody in the world who sees the moon will pick up that station. I thought it was pretty cool just to be able to do that. But of course,
Yeah.
I mentioned it to my friends and they didn't have it. They looked at me and they said, "You need a tinfoil hat." But
Yeah,
that's
but
something
it's
I'd love to just to give it a go, just to go to
yeah,
somebody who has that system.
and a lot of things in radio is cooler than you might expect when you start out. Because bouncing radio frequencies on the surface of the moon sounds like science fiction, but it really isn't that hard. And you can also, the UHF PMR, you're not using PMR for the stuff I'm going to tell you about now, but pretty much the same frequencies are very close. You can make a directional antenna called a Yagi from a
Miyagi.
tape measure,
Mm.
and you can connect that to your handheld amateur UHF radio. But you can point it to the International Space Station, and you can reach the astronauts, and you can talk to them,
Yes.
even though they are, I think they are 300 kilometers away. And that feels weird when your typical UHF handheld radio won't get you longer than like a kilometer or something if you're in town.
Mm. Line of
Uh,
sight.
yeah, it's pretty much line of sight, but line of sight up into the sky, it's that can be to the moon and
Limitless.
back. So it's really, really cool. I don't know about the bounce with the frequencies. Frank, what frequencies do you use for moon bounce?
I think they were in around the 70 centimeters or something like that. It was
Oh yeah, so
pretty.
it was like UHF.
Oh, yeah, yeah, they had as I said, I don't have that kind of equipment here, but I think I do know one guy not too far from me. He's nothing to do with prepping or anything like that. But, and he's an elderly man as well. I think I remember when I was in his house, he was fairly grumpy when I was asking him questions about it. So that's what we have to overcome as well. This is just the old mindset of radios. They don't want us young lads coming in and messing with their systems because that's what they do
Mm.
and that's their gig. That's what I found
Yeah,
as well in a lot of areas with CB guys and ham radio enthusiasts
yeah. So
that
I
they want
think
us to get in.
an exceptional way to get into radio is to be a member of Lewis Group, a radio prepper network, and start with CB, a Citizen Band 27 megahertz, and PMR. If you are in other countries, you might have VHF close to the marine VHF available to you. Like here in Sweden, we have hunting radio, 156 or 7 megahertz. And you can start there and you don't have to be an expert. You do, though, if you are going the handheld route, the PMR or the here hunting radio, you will need to have someone to talk to because at least here that is pretty silent. If you're just going to like buy a radio and and try to connect to someone because it's not like that popular. It might become in the future. It was before, but right now it's not. So if I use one of my amateur handheld radios or something like that, no one will answer because that's not so much people close by. I would have to reach out, and that's one of the reasons. I go for CB radio 27 megahertz if I'm gonna talk to you guys. I've reached Frank in Ireland
Mhm.
with the CB radio
We've all reached each
because
other so far, haven't we?
yeah. So
Yeah.
because the longer the wavelength or lower megahertz, lower frequency, the chance of bouncing in the atmosphere, in the ionosphere, is greater. So you can your transmission jumps and bounces. Yeah, so unfortunately it can bounce over. It's called skip over. So
Mhm.
you get a dead spot in between, and then your radio signal
That's
comes
right.
down
Yeah.
somewhere further away. But you can. I don't know about CB, but with radio and your own radio station and nothing really fancy, you can reach around the earth and hear yourself.
Yeah, I do. I believe that.
Radio is really, really cool.
Mm,
And
Can I ask you a question
I
here?
sure.
absolutely
Can I ask you about NOAA? NOO. Sorry, NOAA weather stations. That's the North American stations. Do we have anything similar in this part of the world, Europe?
no, unfortunately we do not. I think
Because some of my
in the
radios have the NOAA
US
set in.
yeah, in the USA they I think we have more standardized infrastructure for a lot of things here in Europe, which means that you go other routes than through amateur radio and analog radio, which is more common in the US. It's also more common there to use amateur radio for different official tasks, let's say.
Yeah.
That is not very common here in Europe. One thing that is common, or at least used to be common, I know it's still used, is that for rally events, like when they drive the cars in the woods crazy fast, and it's incredible that they
Yeah.
don't die every time. You have radio amateurs that are relaying the times and results
Yes.
Mm,
And
live.
they all say that's
Yeah,
on
and
that
that's a thing
frequency.
in
Yeah.
Europe as well.
cool.
National Oceanic Atmospheric and Administration is what it's called. Sorry, I had to Google that one.
Yeah. So
I
they
had to learn that
they
first.
uh, they transmit on they transmit on I don't I think it's some HF frequency, so you can get
I thought it was down around the
uh
150, in around the 150 somewhere, and I think so. I'm not sure.
yeah, and
I have
it's
one of my radios that has it built in,
yeah, is it AM? What mode is
possibly.
it? I think so.
I couldn't
Because
tell you now. I don't know.
AM, yeah, because you can get those you can buy like the world radios that you just listen to. And they are like AM radios, and they often have the NOAA. Yeah, so they often have the NOAA, but AM long wave it's dead in Europe. I think
It
BBC.
is, yeah.
Yeah, I think BBC was one of the last ones to actually transmit AM radio
Yeah, AM
broadcasting.
252.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know which one, but some international one. Because AM radio is the you have okay, for the ones who don't know radio, you have different ways to transcribe your message in the frequencies you are transmitting in your transmission. And AM means amplitude modulation, and it just means that the intensity, the power intensity of your if I'm speaking now, I'm speaking between 30 to 3000 hertz. That's my voice. If you do
Mhm.
AM, you pretty much move that to a higher frequency that you can transmit, and you change the power in which you are transmitting, and that carries the voice.
Mm,
Yeah.
So AM is like the technically easiest way to do this, which means that for AM transmission, you could make like a receiver from I'm not kidding when I'm saying like a paper clip and a radiator or something like that. It's
Mhm.
like stupid simple stuff, and you could hear AM radio transmissions. And they
Yes.
did
That's right.
this during the Second World War, I think. So
Yes.
just
Crystal set.
improvised radio receivers from like
That's
nothing.
another project Lewis is going to put
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
going to
yeah.
make us watch on YouTube. That's actually another interesting one. That's why not?
yeah.
It's very simple to do. I think we've done it in school back in the day.
Yeah, so we should actually try that sometime.
Yeah,
I think we
definitely.
should actually try that sometime. But I'm gonna have to read up on it. And that is like, I mean that is like the ultimate guerrilla
Oh,
radio.
yeah.
You mean like the paperclip and a water filled radio? I know, I don't
Made of
remember.
stone, isn't it?
We're gonna
It's
have
a
to check
crystal
this up.
set.
But
So
Yeah, it's a
yeah, yeah,
crystal. You
yeah,
can do it from a crystal, yeah.
yeah. But you don't have to have
yeah,
a crystal.
crystal
No.
from
Don't if
you
the
can do it from a
transmission
stone as
is
well.
yeah. So
Depends
so
on the crystals in it.
you need something that oscillates.
It's doable anyway. So let's move on a bit. Move on a bit further down to so the other one then is a CW on both of your radio sets, and that's used
Yes.
CW.
For
What does that
Morse
sound?
code.
Which that's something. Yeah, for Morse. What's
CW
the
stands for
wave?
continuous wave.
Continuous. Now that must be
And
really
continuous
low.
wave, and now we're getting into some radio jargon here, but
Old stuff.
yeah. But it's a pretty good way to send information. Continuous waves mean
Mm.
that you are just sending one single frequency, and
Yeah.
you change that in your receiver so you hear a tone, but it's the same tone. We use telegraphy.
Mm.
It's called a
Mm.
key, and you press the key, and it's the signal is on, and you release the key, and the signal is off,
Signals off.
pretty much. And
The
you
basic
use
form of communication.
yes, so you use Morse code, and pretty much everyone knows three dots, three dashes, three dots for SOS,
Yes.
and that's Morse code. And
It used to be CQT.
yeah,
So
and
a bit of
yeah,
useless
yeah,
information right there.
and in there's a lot of amateur radio operators that use this, and you can
Mhm.
you can reach very, very far. And it's probably with CW, Morse code, that you most easily hear yourself around the world, around the
Yeah.
earth. But I don't think there are any CB or CW or so on like CB radio.
There is a
Don't
few guys that are still into it. Like there is not.
ah
Yeah, there
cool.
is. I've heard it.
And I think
I've heard
that's
it a couple of
third.
times.
That's a third thing we could try out. Like it's easy to build a set again. Again, all
Oh,
of these
yeah.
things were built back in the 1800s and the 1900s
Yeah,
and
and
primarily used.
if people
First time,
look at
see,
movies.
SOS was used. First time SOS was used after the Morse code was most famous shipwreck in the world, Titanic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
the operator in the Carpathia heard did da 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 did, and he didn't know what it was. He wasn't the operator; he was the first or second mate, but he wasn't
oh,
familiar because they had a radio officer back then, and he could hear did da 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 did, and he's okay. I'm going to bed. He didn't realize. Look out the window; these guys are sinking over here. And they
yeah.
could see the
And
Titanic from their ship.
to some people, it might feel now like, oh, but we're talking about technology used like in the 1910s.
But
It's
that's what
it's
CB
a it's
is.
110 years ago. It's not relevant anymore. Actually, when I started studying for the amateur radio license, some of the it's called Elmers, the ones who are older that teaches the younger people radio.
Elders.
Some of them, or a lot of them, they used to be signalists in the Swedish Navy when they were doing their um, military service, their conscription mandatory military service. You are 19 when you do that, and these guys were still working. They were not retired. They were still working. So it's not that long ago that it
No.
was used for military purposes. And if the
Mhm.
military is using it, you better believe that it's
It's
done because it's stable and it works.
it's reliable.
When I
Yeah,
when
it's
I was training
reliable.
in nautical college, I initially was down as a radio officer, but then I was jumped up on deck. So when we were doing our training back in the 80s, it was the late 80s, and I did it. So we were still using the Morse for locations because uh, 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 what you call it, the satellite tracking wasn't in place at the time, and we didn't have all we had was VHF radios. So they're using AM transmitters. I remember seeing the signal come from Argentina, another coming from Brest in France, and another coming from Newfoundland, and that was great for us because you could triangulate yourself. But and these are now turned off. I think these were turned off in 1993. So it was
Yeah.
I was meant to be
Nine,
doing a more in depth in that.
and
Yeah.
1993 is not a long time ago.
No.
Exactly.
But taking things a bit down to like the preparedness side of radio, what does communication preparedness mean to you, Jim? And why is it important?
I think, to me, I like to not keep all eggs in one basket. And of course, for communications, if something happens, whatever, I will use my first line of communications will be my phone, like, or
Sure.
my ordinary way of communications.
Mm,
But then there's like we need options,
of
and
course.
we also need to get. And now we are talking a lot about getting stuff out, like two-way communications, but there's also receiving information. So everyone should have an FM receiver, like an ordinary radio that goes on batteries, or you probably have one in your car. In some European countries, actually, they have closed down the FM, but then they do like DAB plus, like the
Digital
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 broadcast. But
radio, yeah.
so you should have some means to listen to radio broadcasts where you live, because a lot of emergency information will come that way. But that is only receiving information. If you want to have contact with someone, either listening to someone from afar, like a private person, not like a radio station, uh, then you need to go the either amateur radio or like CB route.
Yes.
And I also have these handheld stuff, but I consider them more like something to hand out to
It
neighbors
is.
and people close to me if we are going to collaborate with working on stuff.
Yes.
So that's pretty much my take. For now, I might come back.
Well, I think it's very important for everyone to have some form of backup because the grid is not very reliable. The grid can go down
Mm.
very easily. It's very fragile. So I think it's when people come to me and say, Lewis, I want to get into radio. I'm like, "Oh, okay, well, what are you trying to achieve with your communication plan? Because if you're just trying to communicate with your local community and neighbors, there's no point going overkill and buying great big CB units with huge antennas because it's a bit overkill. A PMR radio would do it, and they're very cheap. So it just depends on what people want to do. So that's why that's what I always say to people. And, oh, Lewis, yeah, right, I want to get started in radio. Okay, great. What do you want to do? Because people think radio is just one thing. It's not. Each kind of radio has a different,
Use case.
different use case. So, but yeah,
Yeah, and also we haven't said that, but the higher the frequency, the smaller your antenna will be, and the lower the frequency, the larger the antenna will be. So your
Mhm.
PMR handheld radio will have an antenna that's like, I don't know, 10 centimeters long or something in that neighborhood. And when you go to CB, if you're going to have a good antenna for CB, it will be like 5 meters long
yes,
in that neighborhood. And most of the time it will be two leads in opposite direction, and like a half wave, yeah, or
well,
yeah.
yeah. Well, a lot of
But
people use vertical antennas in CB,
uh,
but yeah, 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 yeah.
And this one here, I know you can't see this because we're not doing video, but this is called an ATS 20, and it connects also. It has everything on it. It has the whole range: FM, AM, LW, NW, SW, SSB, lower sideband, upper sideband, ESP. You can connect this guy to an electric fence, and it'll pick up 70 centimeters as well. So you just need to get an antenna for it and a connection using the BNC in the back. This
oh
thing
yeah,
cost me about €90, and that is absolute. This is one of the best ones I've ever had.
so it's like
This is
Fantastic.
one I would turn on. I'd turn it on,
Mm,
and you could tune anywhere in the world with it, depending on whatever they're transmitting. But
Yeah,
This
Yeah.
is a
but
proper emergency
that's
one.
a receiver.
Oh, receiver
You
only,
can
that's it.
yeah. So
Get the
it's like
news.
it's a world radio.
Yes.
And to those who are listening that didn't see what Frank was holding up in the camera, it's a small device. It's like 10 centimeters by 10 centimeters by 5 centimeters or something like that. It's like it's not a
Yeah.
big thing. It's not a big heavy thing. But you need to have a connection to an antenna. And in the world of radio, antennas are everything.
Yes.
Yes. That one has, as I said, a BNC, which means it's a multi-connections onto it. You can connect it to a big aerial up on the roof, which I could, and I could connect it to any length of aerial, but it's sitting up here waiting on its day to go and say, right, I'll get you the news from Radio Luxembourg. Is that still a thing? Or is it gone?
I
Can't
think
remember.
that was one of the later AM stations. I'm not sure
Mm.
they are still there. We could do some digging to see if there are any radio stations
If anybody
broadcasting
is
on
familiar,
AM long wave.
yeah, anybody's familiar with the 80s when the nuclear race was going, and in the UK, the number one thing to do in the case of an emergency was tune into BBC Radio 4. There's no other station, only BBC Radio 4. So if you have capabilities to connect to that radio station, try it now because you'll hear the news, you'll hear the sports. BBC Radio 4 is the government go-to channel, especially for the UK and Ireland, and probably and Europe as well. So that's just an interesting test for you. But if you don't hear anything from BBC Radio 4, you know that they're gone. Kaput. So that's then the rest of us go on the radio. I say, Lewis, can you hear BBC? Are they nuked over in your part of the world? You'll say, oh, mamma mia, yes, they're gone.
Well, this is the thing that we're trying to create with, the Radio Prepper Network is, for those of you who don't know, who may be listening, we've created a bit of a community. We have a map on our website. You can go check it out, thepreppernetwork.org.
Trying to build it.
Yeah, we're building it out, and it's a map with all of the people that are in the Radio Prepper Network. And we've also got a communication emergency plan. You can go on there and check it out. It's just a set times of day where, in the case of a grid down situation, we can go on and we can connect with each other at those sort of times, rather than people just go on at random times and go, well, no one's online, no one's on frequency. Well,
Ah,
if we all get into the habit of going on and transmitting at those times, there's a higher chance that in a grid down situation, we're going to have a higher chance of communicating with each other,
we'll
So
be
that's the
listening.
general idea of it. Whether that be via PMR, our go-to channel is channel 2 PMR, channel 2 CB. So yeah, that's
2.5.
the general idea. So if you're listening, go check it out.
Yeah.
So
Funny,
Yeah.
you've done a great job actually so far because you're only really at it's about what, 9 months since you started
yeah,
a website and stuff. Is it about 8 or 9
yes.
months? Somewhere
I
around
think it's
there.
less than that, really. I think it's less than
Oh,
that.
okay.
And yeah, we're now at 140 members. We've had lots of people get into radio and purchase their first radios, got set up on CB, making contacts. I've had a few people reach out to me and they've also connected with other people in their area on the map, and they're actually
Mhm.
creating their own
Yeah, I've
personal
managed to do that with a few
uh
people. Yeah, it's great.
yeah, making their own little communication preparedness plan. It hasn't got to be through us. If you can see
Mhm.
people on the map that are close to you, you can make your own communication preparedness plan. I
I was only
encourage
thinking
that.
about that the other day. We got 2 homesteads, a local to me and another guy in the city that I was only thinking about putting a repeater inside in Waterford City, my local city. I know of a place to put the real high masts. I think I might get access to it, but that would be an interesting one for me to do, just a little side project. Just because I know there
Sure.
is people out there that want to get involved, but don't know how to go about it either.
Yeah,
Because we
that's
do
it.
everything online and we do meet up, but the preppers don't generally meet up. Survivalists meet up. The preppers stay in the shadows. They don't want to be known, which is fair enough. But
Yeah,
I just like to be able to talk to people to say, well, can we bounce ideas? This is what I love to do. This is why I love the hobby and that's what I consider it's a hobby. Being a
yeah,
prepper is a hobby, and to be able to bounce ideas and do these kind of broadcasts here as well and share our information. I mean, I don't know anything. I don't know everything, but I try to learn. And the likes of, in the event of an emergency, where do we go for comms? This is what,
yeah.
Lewis, that's your specialty. This is where we're shining at the moment.
Mm.
Yeah, and I remember, Frank, that you were quite happy when you found what Lewis had done, because you had
Oh,
tried
absolutely.
this before. You tried this
I
before
had,
with
and I couldn't get anybody to give me their location. What country are you? What county? Okay, right. Don't give me your air code or postcode. Just tell me, are you in Europe? Yes. I mean,
think
come on, lad, please.
I think it will
Yeah.
be the next episode that we talk about this. But one of the
Yes.
greatest things with this is that I think it's opening up the transparency of prepping.
Yes.
And
Yeah, we touched on this at lone wolf versus community, didn't we already?
yes, and I think we will go deeper later in how secret to be and what the information to share and what not to share and stuff
Mm.
like that.
Mm.
But I also think that at least earlier it's been more common that people are afraid to tell anyone that they are a prepper or
Mm.
survivalist or something like that for different reasons. I think a lot of
Uh,
those reasons are personal, but I think that is going away more and more.
Yes.
I've been getting that for years where people have asked me, why do I do, why do we do what we do? And if that's the case, first keep it all to themselves. Why do I go out on a limb and make myself public? It's because I try to get the network going, and I'm loving the fact that you two do it. I know in Sweden it's a national thing, so it's not frowned upon to be a prepper because it's in the national interest where you
Yeah,
don't
but it
draw
used
on
to
the
be.
resources. Yeah, but now the government are back again, so that's a big deal.
I think
Government are
COVID
back
had
in.
a big thing to do with all the with
Uh,
all of that, because I think COVID changed a lot of people's mindset and they realized how fragile everything is.
Yeah.
So I
yeah,
think, all the preppers are like, "I told you so."
And I also think
yeah.
COVID
Went around with
was
a big smile.
I think COVID was great for radio. I think
Mm.
it was great
Mm.
for the amateur radio community, and I think a lot of the CB and that community might have gotten a boost from
Yeah.
people needing
Mm.
to seek out other stuff to do than meeting in person.
Yes.
So that and gardening
Yeah.
and the DIY
Yeah,
projects at home.
Yeah. Just try and stay sane. All different
Yeah,
projects, tinkering and stuff like that in your garage.
build your
yeah.
shed.
Coordination and the operational planning as well during COVID. I mean, we didn't lose comms during COVID, but we weren't too far off.
No.
Absolutely everything shutting down, as in the shops being restocked. They allowed lorries to continue coming into Ireland. I remember that the ferries weren't shut down. But if that had been the case, we would have been in big trouble, I think. You
Yeah.
know, it's always, there's no warehouses anymore. They just bring the stuff in, it's brought in as needed. But
Mm.
what we have is we've standardized frequencies and channels to back up our efforts.
Yeah.
So we have that part done,
Yeah.
thanks to
And
Lewis
I
again.
think it's just a big part of it as well is people wanting to get into radio think it's very complicated, but the truth is it can be as complicated or as simple as you want.
Yes.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
Jim was saying, you can have it could be as simple as just buying a world radio and having it to receive information, because obviously when we know what to prep for based on the information that's around us, whether that be online, whatever, on the news, we see something happen in the news, oh, right, I better start prepping or doing that. But if the grid goes down, that's all going to stop. But then when the shit hits the fan, as they say, obviously the information stops, and then but the prepping doesn't just stop then. Actually, the prepping should continue. But where do you get your
mm,
information for? When do you know when to bug out? So you need some form of information, intel, whether that be from
yes.
an FM, or an AM radio, or a CB radio to listen to to the chatter going on around you.
You need a
So yeah, it
trusted
can be
source of information.
exactly. So it's not just about two-way communication, because I get people telling me all the time, "Oh, Loris, well, if I transmit on a radio, I'm good as dead in a shit in a fan situation." Well, it depends on the
Ah,
situation.
Yeah, and even if I'm gonna give an anecdote now, but when I studied for the amateur radio certificate, one of the Elmers, the older guys that taught me, he was deep into CW, Morse code, and in the 90s, with the war in the Balkans, when the genocides started, he was one of the first to receive information about that, because there was an amateur radio operator that, using CW, could tell the world that there
Yeah.
was a
What was going on in the
genocide
Balkans?
going on, because they shut down all other communications, so no information got out. So this amateur radio operator got word out because of radio, and that is so of course he had to be quick about it. He had to transmit and then, I guess, shut it down for a while,
Move
because
location.
you can trace it, but you can't just really trace it from a short burst of communication. You need to start listening to it. But
Yes.
so he got information
Triangulate
out
it.
about yeah. So he got information about a genocide going
Mm.
on. So there is real world application,
Oh,
and
yes.
and you're not as good as dead just because you key the transmitter.
No.
And but you, of course, you have to know how and when and what to do and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
that's a part of the hobby and interest to learn
Mhm.
about this stuff.
Yeah. And
So
that's
real world applications, you can get information out. It's not only receiving.
yeah. And that's it. And there's been loads of real world use cases and stories out there in America, in the storms and the hurricanes. There's been people and ham radio operators that have helped the emergency services get to people using radio. So there's been
Especially in
loads of
America, yeah, where it's very
yeah,
popular.
there's been loads of cases. That's it. And the other thing I know what's booming at the moment is this meshtastic. So,
Yeah.
what's your thoughts on meshtastic, Jim?
Meshtastic, I've been curious about it. Meshtastic is digital way. Or let's say like this: it's like you have your Wi-Fi at home, and you can have. I have a mesh Wi-Fi, so I have 3 routers that talk to each other, and I will automatically get routed to the best signal. And Meshtastic is a bit like the same. You connect different nodes from different people, so you can reach further than you could if you are just from point to point.
Mm.
What's it called? Frank, you got it for.
Repeater service?
Yeah, you got
Repeater
repeaters. Here
network?
in Sweden, we have only repeaters for amateur radio. But uh, it's like a bunch of repeaters talking to each other. And
Yes.
it's in the
And it can also be
UHF, like
digitized.
PMR range of frequencies. So it's line of sight.
Digitized and private.
Mm.
Yeah, so because it's
Yes.
digitized, it's also
Password
you have the
protected.
ability to encrypt.
Yeah,
Encryption.
So I think it's cool. Do I know how to? No. I would like to know more about it. But I think you, Lewis, you are sorting that out.
yeah. I've kind of in the recent weeks because I know people keep talking about it in the group, and I know there's a couple of people in our group that mess with meshtastic, and I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. Not going to do it. Not going to do it. And then, yeah, I did it. I went in and got a couple of nodes, and I jumped down the rabbit hole. But the the funny thing is when you get the nodes, it came with no instructions, no nothing. So you just have to like, here it is, and go it. And YouTube videos and things like that. And I jumped down the rabbit hole. And because a lot of people have been in groups and with debates of people have been slating radio and radio's this, radio's that. Meshtastic is better. Well, for one, Meshtastic is radio, but it's just sending. It's like a
Mesh
network, a mesh network,
yeah,
and you're sending
Meshtastic is
text
nerdy.
messages.
That's what you'd say.
Yeah, you're sending text messages via radio, basically, from one
Yeah.
node to another, and it bounces the message from one node to another to reach its destination, for example. And you can
Yeah.
have separate private channels and things like that. Is it easy? I'm going to say right now, no, it's not easy. I set my 2 nodes up first, and I was like, oh, why is that not working? Why is it? And the thing is, it was working. I just didn't really understand how it was working and how
Exactly.
the program or the software, the firmware, sorry, is actually works. But now I have a better understanding of it and how it works. I know how to improve it. So now I've been
It
making my own solar node and things like that. So because the solar node's online, and they cost like 130 euros for some solar node with a solar panel. But yeah, I made one for like a quarter of the price basically. And it's not sexy. It's a lunchbox, wrapped in electrical tape with a homemade antenna and
Mhm.
a battery. It's not sexy, but it doesn't need to be sexy if it's on the roof, and
It's
it
not
works.
stupid
Yeah.
if it works.
Exactly, it works. Um, so yeah, and I'm
In
just really
America, they discovered this that they are making something like that in the States using the PMR, and it'll bounce onto somebody's phone in their pocket if they're using the same kind of software, and that'll bounce onto somebody else's phone within a range of a couple of hundred, I don't know,
oh
a few
really?
miles, I don't know. Seen that a few years ago, and it's designed to get out for emergencies. That
Mm,
is the thing over there, but it's extremely expensive. So,
yeah,
you'd look at it and then you'd see the price and just move on. It'll get cheaper in
yeah.
10 years' time. But
I
something
know
like
that.
the meshtastic.
Yeah, I know the Quangsheng radios. When you flash them with certain firmware, I know they have the ability to send text messages too from one radio to another. But it's not private. It's not like you can't encrypt it. That's the thing. But it's still pretty cool.
Please send emergency food. We're stuck here. No
Yeah,
lighters.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's still pretty cool. But yeah, so for Meshtastic, I understand the hype because it is really cool and I'm really enjoying it. Would I rely just on that? No, I wouldn't. I still
No.
think having a HF radio and things like that is still good because I've got a node close to me in Lecce, but I don't know if that's plugged into the mains, if it's on solar. So you're relying on other people's
Somebody
nodes to
could have
get
plugged
your
it out, plugged in the Christmas lights. You don't know if that's been plugged back in again. That's
exactly.
another
So
issue.
you're still relying on everyone else's nodes,
Yeah.
to be able to get your message
Two
out.
modes of we've two modes of we have the phone. Everybody has a mobile phone, and then you have your HF radio or your PML radio, which is on a network. That's our at the moment. But when the
Yeah,
phones go down, two is one and one is none. So we now have the HF to do the work.
yeah.
That's basically where we're at.
Yeah. But I think Meshtastic is good, and I think the idea of it is fantastic. But I think when you're creating your little mesh network with
Yeah.
the people in your area, it's very important that you have it set up correctly, not to damage and make it detrimental to the mesh by making the node in the correct settings, and also making sure that they are running on solar, and make sure that you check up on them every now and then to maintain them.
And the other one we forgot to mention here was Vimo, which we started out on. Vimo radio. That's through the network as well. So that's pretty cool. Once you've got your Vimo app turned on the phone. I mean, we all have the Vimos, and it's there for. I think it's used in a lot of work environments and stuff like that. You started using it first, didn't you?
Vimo, the Zello.
Oh, sorry, Zello. What was I saying? Vimo.
Zello.
Shite.
Yeah, Zello.
Zello.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Zello's okay. Zello's okay. Obviously, it uses the grid. It uses internet. But yeah, it's great because you can set up your own private channels and things like that. And it's good for people that are, learning radio, maybe radio shy, don't know,
Yeah.
radio etiquette. They can go on to Zello and they can speak to
And
people.
people are listening, so it's an
Yeah,
open frequency, so, yeah,
yeah.
I
it's a
think
precursor to getting the license.
I think that you can connect Cello to uh, amateur radio repeaters so that
Mm,
you can use DMR,
Yes.
digital mode, and you can talk to each other through Cello with DMR handheld
Yeah.
radios. So it's kind of like an in between. But something to think about now when we are talking about mesh and stuff like that is that your cell phone is kind of like an advanced mesh connection.
yes.
What it's refined, and it's a whole infrastructure setting, and what meshtastic and stuff is like it's very crude compared to that, but it's independent.
Yes.
Mm.
And that's kind of the key point. So if we go to like 10 years from now, you could be in a place where there is an independent, privately decentralized network for
Mm,
communication that is not dependent on cell phone companies and
yes.
governments and stuff like that. So it's a way, it's somewhere in between the analog Jeff radio where you are, as long as you have power
Mhm.
from a battery, maybe, you are completely free of external infrastructure. So mesh is, I think it's complicating it a bit, but it's got its place, and I
Yeah.
think it will be very useful, but I don't think it will replace
No.
Jeff
No,
radio.
no, no, definitely not. And I don't think it should do. I think it should be used in a company with everything else. It's its own separate thing. It's easy because you have your phone there on you. You have your node, you know, maybe in your rucksack, and then you have your other node on the roof. The other day, I was walking to the gym and I was doing a range test, and I was texting from the node in my rucksack, and it was reaching the node on my roof, and I was getting an acknowledgement to say the message had been received, and it was
Mhm.
yeah, it was working really well. And I was actually not in. It dropped off when I went into dense building areas. Obviously, radio doesn't like very dense areas with buildings and stuff, but
VHF at work there quite well,
yeah,
yeah.
but, it worked very well. So I think, yeah, it will never replace it, like, and it shouldn't. I think, these people that are hardcore only meshtastic or only
Yeah.
CB radio or only this, I think,
Super
you're doing
nerds.
yourself you're doing yourself a misjudge. I think it's great to have why not diversify your assets and have and discover it all? Why not? More the better.
Mm. So we're kind of running up on our time here now. Just a recap of what we were talking about earlier. So I think a project for down the road then, Lewis, for you, is to create Morse. We're going to give it a go at Morse, really, and do it on the CW. And
Oh,
then
Oh,
we'll
yeah.
create
we
a
need to learn a new
quartz
language.
radio. Well, a
I
simple.
remember.
I actually, when I was doing my Morse exam back in the day, I remember I was so panicked about it because the instructor gave us, or the examiner gave us a newspaper of the day and said, "Here, tap out the headline." So we had to go da 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 da, da, all that kind of shit. And of course, I aced it on that day because I had only learned it 2 minutes earlier. I was so panicky. The words like Z and Q were there was certain numbers or letters I couldn't get, and it just hit me. Boom. Okay, I got it. I went in, got that one, no problem. Went into my next exam, got a half trigonometry because we were doing astral navigation as well. So that was pretty cool. That's another thing we could touch on, navigation down the road.
Mm,
But
yeah.
anyway, but I'm actually looking forward to doing the CW comms one. That means I have to go
Yeah.
and learn Morse again. That would actually be pretty cool. And we might do videos on these ones and put them up and
Oh,
do
yeah.
them as we're going.
Yeah.
Be an interesting project.
100%.
If it doesn't work, then we just
Exactly.
throw the video in the bin,
Yeah.
and nobody will know. Nobody
No,
will know.
exactly. I think we should do these little projects. I think they'll be good for us and to keep
Yeah.
us busy,
Yeah.
but also good for the community and to get everyone active and to get, people experimenting with these sort of things.
See
It's
how you build
fun.
that 40
It's
euro
not just
area.
it's fun, if you like tinkering with things, radio can be really fun.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
that's the main part of this. It's supposed to be fun. It's not supposed to be panicky and oh, I gotta do this because
You have to do
otherwise I will
this.
die. No,
Yeah.
do this because it's fun. Do this because you are learning stuff.
Yeah.
It's
But also
great.
Mhm.
but by doing that, you're also protecting yourself in the future in case something goes wrong, because you're also practicing with it and everything else. So you're building yourself a new hobby, you're learning things, you're having fun, but at the same time, you're protecting it's like you're insuring yourself for the future in case something does go wrong and you need that equipment. So yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's like with a lot of stuff. I mean, you go to school to learn stuff to get a job. It's not like, "Oh, no, I'm gonna be unemployed." No, you go to school
Yeah.
because it's good to learn stuff. And also, you
Oh,
go
yeah.
to the gym, Lewis. You go to
Yeah.
the gym not because because you get stronger and it's good to be strong, not because you think that in 2.5 years I will need to have to run away from a mugger.
No, no, and
So
it's fun.
so
I mean,
But
yeah, it's fun. But there
we
is
know
a
that's why
there
you do it
is
as well.
yeah, there is a prepping aspect to it as to why I wanted to do the kind of like this is another episode. I wanted to go into CrossFit because it covers all aspects, and I want to be as healthy as I can in the case of a bad situation. But also, it's fun. It's just fun.
Right.
It's challenges, and you got to have fun with everything you do. You can't all be doom and gloom.
You have to have a bit of fun in your life.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
So on
So
that
do we want to
note,
wrap it up for there on that one?
I think our time is up for today.
yes,
And I would like to wish everybody that is listening a happy new year. And if you haven't done your New Year's resolutions, it's high time to do it now. You should, they really should be something about prepping, I think.
Yes.
Otherwise, you have to make new ones. So, how about you, gentlemen? What do you want to wish the listeners for the coming year?
Well,
Well, go on, Frank.
26. I mean, God Almighty, 26, 2000 since the millennium. I thought when I got to the millennium and when I reached that age, I had no other goals to reach after 00. I could only, when I was a young lad, all I wanted to do was get to zeros, get to 2000. And now we're 26 years later, and I think the world has gone a bit more skew-ways than it was back then. I think we have a new president in Venezuela now. Is it President Trump in Venezuela? Is it as of today? So yeah, it's interesting times coming down the road over there as well. So anyway, I'd like to wish everybody, and especially I wish people in Switzerland at the moment, because they got through an awful tragedy. That was so unforeseen. Like, that was something that it's an accident that could easily be avoided. But anyway, look, that's the way life goes. We don't know from one end of the day what's going to happen. But with a
Nope.
bit of more planning, we can always take steps to ease our way of life. So,
Yeah.
Lewis,
Exactly. Yeah. I wish everyone a happy new year. I hope you will all achieve what it is you want to achieve, whether it be with prepping or just general, whatever it is you're looking to do in life. And yeah, if you haven't checked out the preppernetwork.org, go and check it out. You can find all of our groups on our website. And you can also find the Radio Prepper Network page, and there will be all of the information about the emergency communications plan. If you don't know where to find it, or you have struggles, or problems, shall I say, comment below, and yeah, we can help you get set up.
okay, well done. Okay, right, sure. We will talk to everybody in the next podcast. Hopefully, you enjoyed this one, and if there's anything you need us to talk about, put your questions in the comments, and we will get to you ASAP.
Perfect.
Yes.
All right,
Okay,
guys.
See
Take it
you.
easy.
Thank you. Take care. Bye bye.